The sky above Seoul turned dark at 3 in the afternoon. Men stood on the roof of the military command center and watched the massive ships block out the sun. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. There were 12 of them, hanging in the air like dark mountains made of metal. His phone buzzed with emergency alerts. Every phone on Earth was buzzing. The same message appeared on every screen, every television, every display in the world. The message was simple and cold. People of Earth, you have 48 hours to surrender. We have come to collect workers for our empire. Resist and die. Submit and live. Choose wisely. Min read the message 3 times. His hands did not shake. He had been a soldier for 20 years. He had seen war. But this was different. This was not war between nations. This was something new. His assistant ran onto the roof. "Colonel, the general wants everyone in the command room now." Inside, the room was chaos. Generals from 12 countries stood around a large table, all shouting at once. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to run and hide. "Silence!" General Park slammed his hand on the table. "We need information. What do we know about these?" A young woman stepped forward. Her name was Ah. She worked at the science facility in Geneva, but she had flown to Seoul when the ships arrived. She wore a simple white shirt and jeans, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked tired. "I've been studying their broadcast signal," Ah said. Her voice was steady. "Their ships use a type of shield technology. The shields operate on rotating frequencies. I think we can predict the pattern." "Can we break through?" Min asked. "Maybe, but we'd need time to test it." "We have 48 hours, General Park said. "Use them." Across the city, watched the alien ships from his apartment window. He was not a soldier anymore. He had left the Special Forces 5 years ago. Now he ran a small security company, but old habits died hard. He was already making plans. His phone rang. It was his old team, 10 men he had served with, 10 men he trusted with his life. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" the voice on the phone asked. "Yeah," said, "get everyone together, my place, 1 hour." When the men arrived, they brought weapons, not military weapons. Those were locked up in army bases, but they brought hunting rifles, baseball bats, homemade explosives. One man brought his grandfather's old sword. "If they think we're going to become slaves, they're stupid," one man said. Spread a map on the table. The ships are hovering over major cities. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Mumbai. They'll send down smaller ships to collect people. We need to be ready. "Ready for what?" another man asked. "Ready to make them regret coming here." The 48 hours passed quickly. World leaders argued. Some countries wanted to fight. Some wanted to surrender. The United Nations held an emergency meeting. They voted to negotiate. But before negotiations could begin, they sent down their collector drones. The drones were small, only the size of a bus. They appeared in the sky above Seoul just after dawn. There were 50 of them. They descended toward the crowded streets, their bottom hatches opening. People screamed and ran. The drones fired nets made of energy, catching people like fish. The nets lifted humans into the air and pulled them into the drones. Min watched from the command center, his jaw clenched. They're not even waiting for an answer. "Sir, what are our orders?" a young officer asked. Min looked at General Park. The old general nodded slowly. "Shoot them down," Min said. The order went out. Anti-aircraft missiles launched from hidden positions around the city. The missiles streaked through the sky toward the drones. Most of the missiles exploded against the drone shields. Blue energy flared and the missiles fell away harmlessly. But 3 missiles got through. They struck 3 drones, tearing them apart in balls of fire. The pieces fell to the streets below. Burning metal crashed into buildings. People cheered even as they ran for cover. In his apartment, watched a drone hover above the street. It was collecting people from the park across the road. He grabbed his rifle and ran to the roof. The drone was close, maybe 50 meters away. Could see the aliens inside through a window. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They wore shiny armor. He aimed his rifle at the window and fired. The bullet hit the shield and bounced away. He fired again. Same result. "Come on," he muttered. He kept firing 10 shots, 20, 30. On the 30th shot, something changed. The shield flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. His next bullet went through. The window shattered. The drone spun in the air, out of control. It crashed into the building next door and exploded. Called Min. The shields have a weakness. If you hit the same spot over and over, they overload. Min relayed the information to every military unit. Across the city, soldiers concentrated their fire. More drones fell from the sky. In Geneva, Ah worked frantically in her laboratory. She had pieces of a destroyed drone that had been flown in from Seoul. She studied the shield generator, her hands moving quickly over the alien technology. "It's so advanced," she whispered to herself, "but it's not perfect." She discovered the pattern. The shields rotated through 12 frequencies every 3 seconds. If you could time your attack perfectly, you could hit during the millisecond gap when the frequency switched. She sent her findings to military command. By the end of the day, 40 of the 50 drones over Seoul had been destroyed. The remaining 10 retreated to the mother ships in orbit. That night, Min stood on the roof again. He could see fires burning across the city. Hundreds had been taken. Thousands more had been killed in the fighting, but they had hurt the aliens. They had proven that humans would not go quietly. His phone rang. It was Ah. "Colonel, I'm monitoring their communications. They're confused. They're asking their commanders why we're resisting. Apparently, every other species they've conquered just surrendered immediately." Min smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Then they don't know humans very well," he said. "Tell everyone to prepare. They'll come back, and when they do, we'll be ready." Above the Earth, in the largest ship, Commander stared at the reports in disbelief. They had lost 40 collection drones. 40, to primitives with basic weapons. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His second officer hesitated. "Sir, these humans, they fight differently than the other species. They don't seem to fear death. They attack even when it's hopeless." Hissed in frustration. "Send down the warriors. If they want war, we'll give them war. We'll show them what happens to slaves who resist." But deep in his mind, a small seed of doubt began to grow. In 500 years of conquest, they had never lost a single drone to primitive weapons. Never. What had they found on this small blue planet? The warriors came at dawn. They descended in armored, heavily armed, and ready for battle. Commander had sent 3,000 warriors to Seoul alone, 50,000 more spread across the major cities of Earth. They expected an easy fight. They expected humans to see their superior weapons and surrender. They had never been more wrong. Watched the first land in the city square. The back ramp lowered and 20 warriors marched out in formation. They carried weapons that glowed with blue energy. Their armor gleamed in the morning sun. "Wait for it," whispered into his radio. He had 200 fighters hidden in the buildings around the square. Not soldiers, just ordinary people who refused to become slaves. Office workers, teachers, shopkeepers. But they all had weapons now. The warriors spread out, searching for humans to capture. Their commander barked orders in their alien language. Now shouted. The buildings exploded with gunfire. Bullets came from every window, every rooftop, every door. The shields held at first, turning blue as they absorbed the impacts. But people had learned. They focused fire on individual targets, hitting the same shields over and over. Shields began to fail. Warriors fell. The scattered trying to find cover, but there was no cover. The humans were everywhere. One warrior fired his energy weapon at a building. The beam punched through concrete, but behind the hole were 10 more humans with guns. They shot the warrior down before he could fire again. In 3 minutes, all 20 warriors were dead. People cheered. They had lost 12 fighters, but they had won. At the military command center, Min coordinated the global response. Reports flooded in from every continent. The pattern was the same everywhere. Warriors were strong and well-armed, but they fought in predictable formations. They relied on their shields and superior weapons. They did not adapt. Humans adapted constantly. Bin, a young woman who worked in computer security, had managed to hack into a captured communicator. She sat in a dark room surrounded by screens, her fingers flying over keyboards. "I'm in their network," she said, her eyes wide with excitement. "Colonel, I can hear everything they're saying." "What are they saying?" Min asked. Bin listened to the alien voices through her headphones. "They're scared. They keep asking their commanders why humans won't stop fighting. They've never seen anything like this. Can you send them false information? Give me an hour. I'll have them chasing ghosts all over the city." While Bin worked on the alien network, Dongjun made a different kind of discovery. He was a marine biologist who had been conscripted to study the dead warriors. He worked in a makeshift laboratory in the basement of a hospital. "This is incredible," Dongjun muttered as he examined alien tissue under a microscope. "Their immune system is completely different from ours." A doctor working beside him looked over his shoulder. "What does that mean?" "It means they've never been exposed to Earth diseases. Look at this." He showed her the microscope. "I introduced a simple cold virus to their cells. The cells are dying. They have no defense against it." Ah's eyes widened. "Can we weaponize that?" "I think we have to." While the scientists worked, the battle for Seoul intensified. They sent more warriors. Humans fought them in the streets, in the subways, in the buildings. Every battle was brutal. Every battle cost lives on both sides. But something strange began to happen. They started to hesitate. They advanced more slowly. They checked corners before turning them. They jumped at shadows. Min noticed it immediately. "They're afraid." "Sir?" his assistant asked. "Though they're not used to enemies who fight back. Every other species they conquered must have surrendered. But we're not surrendering. We're hunting them." And humans were hunting them. Resistance cells had grown from 10 men to 10,000. They used tactics they had never encountered. Ambushes, booby traps, hit-and-run attacks. They fought dirty because fighting dirty kept you alive. In one famous incident, a group of humans in New York lured 50 warriors into the subway system. Then they collapsed the tunnel, burying the aliens alive. The surviving warriors had to dig themselves out for 3 days while humans picked them off one by one. They had never experienced psychological warfare before. They did not know how to handle it. Bin's hacking made things worse for them. She sent false reports through their network. She told units that massive human armies were approaching from the north when the real attack came from the south. She made them see threats that did not exist. "I just told a battalion that Seoul has been evacuated," she said with a grin. "They're wasting time searching empty buildings while teams move into position behind them." The major battle came on the 7th day. They assembled 5,000 warriors for a massive push into the heart of Seoul. They planned to capture the government buildings and force humanity's surrender. Min had been waiting for this. He had prepared a trap. The forces advanced down the main boulevard, their shields up, their weapons ready. The street was eerily quiet. No civilians, no soldiers, nothing. "It's a trap," one officer said to his commander. "Of course it's a trap," the commander replied. "But we have 5,000 warriors. What can they do?" They found out quickly. The buildings on both sides of the street exploded outward. Not from bombs, from rockets. Hundreds of homemade rockets fired from every window. The rockets were crude, built from pipes and fertilizer, but there were so many of them that the sky turned black. Shields overloaded immediately. Warriors died in the hundreds. The survivors tried to retreat, but forces had blocked the exits. Gunfire poured in from every direction. In the chaos, something new happened. One of the warriors broke. He threw down his weapon and ran, then another, then a dozen. The mighty warriors, who had conquered 47 worlds, were running away from humans. Men watched from a distance through binoculars. "Get me a count. How many did we kill?" "Still counting, sir, but at least 3,000, maybe more." 3,000. In one battle. They had lost more warriors in soul than they had lost in the conquest of their previous 10 worlds combined. That night, Ah finished her work. She had created a biological weapon using modified Earth bacteria. It would spread through them like wildfire, weakening them, making them sick. It would not kill them immediately, but it would make them vulnerable. "Are we really going to do this?" Dongjun asked quietly. Ah looked at him with hard eyes. "They came here to enslave us. They thought we would just surrender. Yes, we're going to do this." The bacteria was released into the air near camps. Within hours, warriors started getting sick. Their commanders had no idea what was happening. They had never dealt with biological warfare before. Above Earth in his flagship, Commander read the reports with growing horror. They had lost 12,000 warriors in 1 week. 12,000. Against primitives with crude weapons. "Sir, we should request reinforcements," his second officer said. "From who? Every fleet is engaged in other conquests. We were supposed to finish this in 3 days." "Then what do we do?" Stared at the blue planet below. Such a beautiful world, such a nightmare. "We retreat, pull all ground forces back to the ships. We'll bombard them from orbit until they surrender." "Sir, the Empire will see that as weakness." "The Empire can come here and fight these humans themselves," shouted. "I'm not losing any more warriors to these monsters." On Earth, Ah detected the withdrawal. She ran to find Min. "Colonel, they're pulling back, all of them." Min smiled. For the first time in a week, he smiled a real smile. "Then we've won the first round. Get me everything we can about their fleet, because when they come back, we're taking the fight to them." Stood in the ruined city square where the first warriors had landed. Around him, his people were collecting alien weapons and armor. They were learning. They were adapting. A young woman approached him. She had lost her family in the first attack. "Is it over?" she asked. Shook his head. "No, they'll come back, but now they know. We're not prey, we're predators, and we're just getting started." The reinforcements arrived 3 weeks later. 20 new warships dropped out of hyperspace and joined the 12 already orbiting Earth. Commander felt relief wash over him. Now they had real firepower. Now they could end this nightmare. But humans had not been idle during those 3 weeks. In a secret facility beneath Seoul, Ah worked day and night with a team of scientists from around the world. They had pieces of destroyed technology spread across dozens of tables. Weapons, shield generators, engine components, everything they could salvage. "This power cell is incredible," one scientist said. "It generates more energy than our best nuclear reactor." "Can we replicate it?" Ah asked. "Not yet, but we can use it. Look." The scientist connected the power cell to a human prototype. The weapon hummed to life, glowing with the same blue energy as alien weapons. "We just made our weapons 10 times more powerful." Across the facility, worked on a different problem. He was an engineer who specialized in civilian electronics. Now he was weaponizing everything he could find. "Car batteries, phone circuits, microwave parts," he muttered as he worked. "If I wire them together like this." He connected the final piece. The device in front of him sparked to life. "Got it. This is an EMP generator. It'll fry any electronics within 100 meters." "Will it work on technology?" Min asked. He had been watching the engineers with great interest. "Only one way to find out," grinned. But if it does, their ships are just expensive metal boxes. While the scientists worked, Jin worked on uniting the world. She was a diplomat, skilled at negotiation and strategy. Before the invasion, countries could barely agree on anything. Now she had to make them work together. "They think we're divided," she said at the emergency United Nations meeting. "They think we'll betray each other for survival. We need to prove them wrong." "How?" the Russian ambassador asked. "We can barely communicate during peacetime. We share everything: technology, intelligence, weapons, strategies. What works in Seoul, we use in Moscow. What works in New York, we use in Beijing. We fight as one species, not as separate nations." It was hard. Countries did not trust each other, but they had given humanity something it had never had before: a common enemy. Slowly, reluctantly, the nations began to cooperate. Information flowed between resistance cells across the globe. Tactics from Seoul were in London. Bin's hacking techniques spread to every country with internet access. Ah's biological weapons were manufactured in laboratories from Tokyo to Toronto. And then there was Sangwoo. He was a fighter pilot, one of the best in the Korean Air Force. Before the invasion, he flew jets in training exercises. Now he flew missions that seemed impossible. "Sir, we've modified 6 jets with power cells," his commander told him. "The engines are twice as powerful now, and we've mounted their weapons on the wings." Sangwoo walked around one of the modified jets. It looked strange, human technology merged with alien design, but it was beautiful. "Can it reach orbit?" he asked. "We think so, but we've never tested it." Sangwoo climbed into the cockpit. "Then let's test it now." The jet screamed into the sky, faster than any human aircraft had ever flown. Sangwoo felt the G-forces crushing him, but he kept climbing. Higher and higher, through the clouds, through the atmosphere, into the darkness of space. Below him, Earth was a blue marble. Above him, the fleet floated like dark stars. "Command, I'm in position," he said over the radio. "Permission to engage." Min's voice came back. "Negative, return to base. We're not ready yet." Sangwoo looked at the alien ships, so close. He could fire right now, damage 1, maybe 2 before they destroyed him, but discipline held. He turned the jet around and descended back to Earth. But he had proven something important. Humans could reach space now. The fleet was no longer safe. When Commander learned that a human aircraft had entered orbit, he nearly dropped his data pad. "Impossible, they can't have that technology." "Sir, they're adapting our technology faster than any species we've encountered. At this rate, they'll have a space fleet in months." "We can't wait months. Begin orbital bombardment. Target military facilities first, then cities if they don't surrender." The ships opened fire. Beams of energy lanced down from orbit, striking military bases around the world. Explosions lit up the night sky. Thousands died in the first strikes. But Ah had prepared for this. "Activate the shield network," she shouted. Around each major city, hidden generators powered up. They were crude copies of shield technology, built from salvaged parts and human ingenuity. The shields flickered into existence, forming domes of blue energy over the cities. The next bombardment struck the shields and scattered harmlessly into the atmosphere. Howe stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "They've only had our technology for 3 weeks. His science officer looked terrified. "Sir, I've been analyzing human history. They've always been like this. They advance faster during war than during peace. They used to fight with swords and horses. In just a few hundred years, they developed nuclear weapons. They don't just adapt, sir. They evolve." The bombardment continued for hours. Most of the shields held. Some failed and cities burned. But humanity held on. And they struck back. EMP devices were loaded onto missiles and fired at the fleet. The missiles weren't designed to penetrate shields. They were designed to get close and detonate. 3 missiles got through the point defenses. They exploded near the ships, and electromagnetic pulses washed over the alien vessels. Electronics fried. Shields dropped. 2 ships went dark completely, floating dead in orbit. Now, Min ordered, all batteries fire. Powered by energy cells fired from hidden positions across the planet. The projectiles punched through the now vulnerable ships, tearing holes in their hulls. One ship began to tumble, its engines destroyed. Another exploded, split in half by a direct hit to its reactor. Sangwoo led a squadron of 12 modified jets into space. They swarmed around the ships like angry wasps, firing captured alien weapons. The jets were small and fast. The ships were large and slow. It was no contest. Target their engines, Sangwoo called over the radio. Make them sitting ducks. His squadron focused fire. One by one, ships lost propulsion. They couldn't run. They couldn't maneuver. They could only drift helplessly in orbit while human weapons tore them apart. Commander watched his fleet burn. In one day, he had lost 8 ships. 8. The Empire would execute him for this failure. But if he stayed here, the humans would kill him anyway. All ships retreat. Jump to hyperspace immediately. Sir, some of our ships can't maneuver. Their engines are. Leave them, everyone else jump now. The remaining ships activated their hyperdrives and vanished into the stars. 8 damaged ships remained, drifting in orbit. Their crews abandoned them in escape pods, trying to reach the ships that had jumped away. Resistance forces captured most of the escape pods before they could leave Earth's gravity well. The alien warriors inside surrendered without a fight. They had seen enough of human warfare. On the ground, in the burned cities and broken streets, humans celebrated. They had won. The mighty empire, conquerors of 47 worlds, had run away from Earth. Min stood in the command center, surrounded by exhausted but happy officers. Jin was on the video screen, broadcasting from the United Nations. "We've received a message from the Empire," she said. "They're offering a ceasefire. They want to negotiate." "What do they offer?" Min asked. "They'll leave us alone, complete withdrawal. In exchange, we return their prisoners and salvage technology." Min looked around the room. Every officer shook their head. "Tell them no," Min said. "We keep the prisoners, we keep the technology, and we keep the ships in orbit. They wanted to enslave us. Now they pay the price." Jin smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." Ah approached Min with a data pad. "Colonel, we've been analyzing the captured ships. Their navigation computers have star maps, jump coordinates, locations of colonies and outposts. And we can reach them. With these ships, we can go anywhere in their empire." Min thought about all the humans who had died, all the cities that had burned, all the people who had been taken as slaves in those first attacks. The thought they could come to Earth, take what they wanted, and leave. They were wrong. "Get those ships operational," Min ordered. "And find me volunteers for crew. We're not done with the yet." Across the planet, a new message spread through human resistance networks. They had run, but humanity was just getting started. They had alien ships now, alien weapons, alien technology. And they had something they would never understand: the absolute refusal to quit. The hunters had become the hunted, and Earth was ready to show the galaxy what humans could do when someone made them angry. 2 months after the retreat, the 8 captured ships were operational. Ah and her team had worked miracles, reverse engineering alien technology and teaching humans how to use it. The ships had new names now, painted on their hulls in Korean, English, Chinese, and a dozen other languages. They were no longer vessels. They were Earth's first space fleet. Min walked through the corridors of the flagship, now called the Defiant. Thousands of volunteers had trained day and night to crew these ships. They learned to read alien controls, operate alien weapons, navigate through hyperspace. It was hard work, but humans were good at learning. "Status report," Min said as he entered the bridge. The bridge crew was a mix of nationalities: a Korean navigator, a Russian weapons officer, an American engineer, a Japanese communications specialist. They worked together as if they had trained for years instead of weeks. "All systems green, Colonel," the captain reported. She was a former Navy officer named Jin, the same woman who had united the world's governments. Now she commanded a starship. "The fleet is ready to jump on your order." Min looked at the star map on the main display. Bin had extracted it from the navigation computers. It showed hundreds of colonies, bases, and outposts across dozens of star systems. "Here," Min pointed to a small outpost on the edge of space. "This is a forward operating base. The prisoners told us they use it to process slaves from conquered worlds. We hit it first." "Why start with a small target?" Jin asked. "Because we need to learn. We've never fought a space battle before. We need to know what works before we attack anything important." That made sense. The bridge crew prepared for the jump. Below decks prepared his boarding teams. He had 500 soldiers on the Defiant, all veterans of the ground war against the. They had trained for zero-gravity combat using captured equipment. "Remember," told his teams, "are physically weak. They rely on their technology. Take away their shields and weapons and they're helpless. We take this base fast and hard." The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines of light and reality twisted in ways human eyes weren't meant to see. Some crew members got sick. Others stared in wonder. This was it. Humanity had left its solar system for the first time, not as explorers but as warriors. They emerged from hyperspace near the outpost. It was a small station orbiting a dead moon. Sensors detected 50 warriors inside and maybe 200 slaves from various species. "Hail them," Min ordered. Bin opened a communication channel. The commander appeared on the screen. He was thin and tall, with gray skin and large black eyes. When he saw humans on a ship, his eyes went even wider. "How did you?" he started to say. "Surrender your station," Min interrupted. "Release the slaves and you live." The commander hissed something in his own language. The communication cut off. Seconds later, the station's weapons powered up. "They want to fight," Jin said. "Stupid." "Show them what happens when you fight humans," Min ordered. "Weapons free." The Defiant's guns blazed. Energy beams struck the station's shields. The shields held at first, turning blue under the assault. But the humans had learned. They focused fire on specific points, overloading the shield generators. The shields failed in under a minute. The next volley of fire punched holes in the station's hull. Atmosphere vented into space. Emergency alarms blared. "Cease fire," Min commanded. "Boarding teams go." And his soldiers launched from the Defiant in small assault shuttles. They crossed the space between ship and station in seconds, then cut through the hull with plasma torches. Inside, warriors tried to mount a defense, but it was hopeless. The humans moved through the station like ghosts. They had trained in the dark, in zero gravity, in every condition they could simulate. They stumbled in their own corridors, disoriented and afraid. One by one, the warriors fell. Some surrendered. Most tried to fight and died quickly. Found the commander hiding in a locked room. The door was sealed, but human explosives made short work of it. "Please," the commander begged in broken English. "Don't kill me." Grabbed him by his armor. "Where are the slaves?" "Lower deck, all of them. I'll show you, just don't." "Then show me." The slaves were in terrible condition. Hundreds of beings from species humanity had never seen before. They were chained, starving, beaten. When soldiers freed them, many couldn't believe it. "You're free," said through a translator device. "You're going home." One of the freed slaves, a creature with 4 arms and blue skin, stared at him in confusion. "Who are you?" "We're humans from Earth. They tried to enslave us too," smiled grimly. "Big mistake." Back on the Defiant, Min interrogated the captured commander. The alien was terrified, shaking as human soldiers stood guard around him. "How many slave processing stations like this do you have?" Min asked. 12 in this sector, 20 more across the Empire." "And the slaves, what happens to them?" "They're sold to various buyers across the galaxy. Some go to factories, some to mines, some to private owners." Min felt anger burn in his chest. The Empire was built on suffering. They conquered worlds, stole people, and sold them like property, and they thought Earth would be just another conquest. "You made a terrible mistake coming to our world," Min said quietly. "We're going to shut down every single one of your slave stations. We're going to free every slave. And we're going to make sure the galaxy knows what you really are." "You can't fight the entire Empire," the commander protested. "We have hundreds of ships, thousands of warriors." "Good," Min smiled. "We need the practice." The fleet jumped to the next target and the next. Over the following weeks, human ships struck outposts across their territory. They freed thousands of slaves. They destroyed slave processing facilities. They captured warriors and ships. And they learned. Ah studied every piece of technology they captured. Each battle made human ships stronger, faster, deadlier. She improved their shields, upgraded their weapons, enhanced their engines. Within a month, the 8 human ships were more advanced than anything in the fleet. "We're surpassing them," Ah reported to Min. "Their technology hasn't evolved in centuries. They've been using the same designs for generations, but we improve after every battle." "Because we have to," Min said. "They fought weak enemies for so long they forgot how to innovate. We fight to survive. We adapt or die." Sangwoo became the fleet's best pilot. He led fighter squadrons in daring raids against positions. His modified jet had been upgraded with full technology now. It was faster than any fighter, more maneuverable, more deadly. "Target the flagship," he called to his squadron during one battle. 12 fighters swarmed a cruiser, dodging defensive fire, striking weak points. The cruiser's shields failed. Sangwoo fired a missile into the exposed engine section. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash. Word spread through the Empire. Humans were hunting them. Humans were winning. Panic set in. Although the Empire's council met in emergency session, Commander stood before them, shamed and desperate. "The humans have captured or destroyed 40 of our outposts," he reported. "They've freed over 10,000 slaves. They've destroyed 15 of our ships, and they're getting stronger." "How is this possible?" one council member demanded. "They were primitives." "They were never primitives," said quietly. "We underestimated them. We thought they were weak because they fought with simple weapons, but they weren't weak. They were just getting started. Then we send the full fleet. We wipe out there." "No," another council member said. "We've seen what happens when we fight them directly. They beat us every time. We need a different approach." "What approach?" "We negotiate. We offer peace. We give them what they want. We don't negotiate with slaves. They're not slaves, they're predators, and we woke them up." Back on the Defiant, Min received an unexpected message. It was from the Council, broadcast on all frequencies. "Humans of Earth, we offer peace. Return to your world, keep your ships and technology. We will leave you alone. All we ask is that you stop attacking our territory." Min read the message 3 times. Around him, the bridge crew waited for his response. Sir Jin asked, "What do we do?" Min thought about all the slaves they had freed, all the species suffering under rule, all the worlds that had surrendered because they thought resistance was hopeless. "Send a reply," he said. "Tell them we'll stop attacking when every slave in their empire is free. Tell them we'll stop when they dismantle their slave trade completely. Tell them we'll stop when they've paid for what they've done." "And if they refuse?" Min looked at the tactical display, showing the locations of military installations across the sector. "Then we keep hunting. We keep fighting. We show the galaxy what happens when you try to enslave humanity. The message was sent. They had their answer. Humanity would not stop. The hunt had just begun. The Council rejected humanity's demands. They sent their fleet instead. 140 warships jumped into Earth's solar system, the largest military force that had assembled in 300 years. They intended to end this embarrassment once and for all. Contact, the censor officer on the Defiant called out. Multiple hyperspace signatures, sir. It's the entire fleet. Min stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the enemy ships appear on the tactical display. 140 against 8. The odds were terrible. Any sane person would retreat. But humans had stopped being sane the moment they tried to enslave them. All ships battle stations, Min ordered calmly. Remember the plan. Over the past months, had turned Earth into a fortress. Orbital platforms circled the planet, armed with and missile batteries. The 8 human warships had been joined by hundreds of smaller vessels, converted civilian craft armed with whatever weapons could be mounted on them. And in the asteroid belt, hidden among the rocks, waited Sangwoo and his fighter squadrons. They're moving into formation, Jin reported. Standard battle group. They're not even trying to hide their tactics. Why would they? Bin said from her console. They've used the same tactics for centuries. They've never needed to change. Then let's teach them why adaptation matters, Min said. Execute Plan Alpha. The human fleet did not charge forward to meet the. Instead, they scattered. The 8 warships split up, each heading in a different direction. The hundreds of smaller vessels formed swarms, moving in unpredictable patterns. The fleet commander watched in confusion. What are they doing? Why don't they form a battle line? Sir, they're everywhere. We can't target them all. Then pick targets and fire. The fleet opened fire, but the human ships were too fast, too small, too spread out. Energy beams lanced through space, hitting nothing but vacuum. A few smaller vessels were destroyed, but the majority dodged and weaved, leading the deeper into the solar system. Phase 2, Min ordered. Activate the debris field. For weeks, engineering teams had been positioning chunks of rock and ice throughout the solar system. Small asteroids, comet fragments, pieces of destroyed satellites. Now they detonated the explosive charges attached to each piece. The debris exploded into motion, creating a field of high-velocity projectiles in the path of the fleet. Ships' shields lit up as rocks slammed into them at incredible speeds. The shields held, but they were being constantly drained. Their shields are at 60%, Bin reported. 70% of their power is going to defensive systems. Good, Min smiled. Sangwoo, you're up. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of fighters launched. They were a mix of modified human jets and captured craft, all upgraded with the best technology could create. Sangwoo led them in a devastating attack run. All fighters target their shield generators, he called over the radio. Don't waste shots on their armor, go for the weak points. The fighters swarmed the fleet like angry insects. They were too small for the big ship weapons to track effectively, too fast for point defense systems. One by one, they found the shield generators on each ship and destroyed them. Shields began to fail. Without shields, the ships were vulnerable to the debris field. Without shields, they were vulnerable to everything. Now, Min ordered, all ships full assault. The 8 human warships turned and charged. They had been running away, leading into the trap. Now they attacked with everything they had. The Defiant focused fire on the flagship, fired solid projectiles at impossible speeds. Energy weapons, powered by improved technology, carved through armor. Missiles tracked targets with precision that computers couldn't match. The flagship's shields collapsed. Armor melted under the assault. The bridge exploded, killing the fleet commander instantly. The massive ship began to drift, lifeless and broken. All around the solar system, similar battles raged. Ships found themselves surrounded by swarms of smaller vessels, all firing, all attacking. They tried to regroup, but Bin had hacked into their communications network. She sent false orders, confused their coordination, made them shoot at their own ships. "They're breaking formation," Jin reported. "Half their fleet is retreating." "Don't let them," Min said coldly. "No survivors." It was brutal, it was merciless, but they had come to enslave humanity. They had come to take humans' freedom, their dignity, their lives. They deserved no mercy. Sangwoo chased down fleeing ships. His fighter screamed through space, weapons blazing. One cruiser tried to jump to hyperspace, but Sangwoo put a missile through its engine core before it could escape. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the fleet was destroyed. 140 ships reduced to debris. Only a handful of escape pods survived, carrying terrified who surrendered immediately. Min stood on the bridge looking at the tactical display. The space around Earth was filled with wreckage. Some of it was human. They had lost 37 small vessels and hundreds of fighters. Over 2,000 humans had died. But they had won. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions," Bin said. "From everywhere, multiple species across the galaxy." "What are they saying?" "They want to know what happened. News about the battle is spreading through the communication network. Everyone knows now. The humans destroyed the fleet." Min thought for a moment. Send them the battle footage. Show them everything. Let the galaxy see what happens when someone tries to enslave Earth. The footage went out across 1,000 worlds. Alien species who had been conquered by the watched in shock as humans tore apart their oppressors. Species who had surrendered without a fight saw what resistance looked like. Species who had lived in fear for centuries saw hope. On the chaos erupted. The council that had ruled for generations fell apart. Some members fled. Others were arrested by their own people. The empire that had conquered 47 worlds was collapsing. And on Earth, humanity prepared for the next step. 6 months after the final battle, Min stood in the new United Earth Space Command headquarters. Representatives from every nation on Earth were present. The old borders meant less now. Humanity had seen what they could achieve when they worked together. Ah presented her latest work, a new generation of human-designed ships, not based on technology anymore, but built from scratch using human engineering improved by alien knowledge. "We're calling them the Liberator class," she said. "Faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything in the fleet ever was." "How many can we build?" Min asked. "With global cooperation, we can have 50 ships operational within a year, 200 within 5 years. Walked in with a group of freed slaves. They were representatives from a dozen species, former prisoners of the Empire. "Colonel Min," one of them said through a translator, "we come to thank you and to ask for your help. There are still slaves in territory, millions of them. Will you help us free them?" Min looked around the room, at Ah, who had turned technology against them, at who had taught humans to fight in space, at Jin, who had united the world, at Sangwoo, who had led fighters into impossible battles and won. "We'll help," Min said, "but not as your saviors, as your allies. We'll teach you to fight like we fight. We'll share our technology, and together we'll make sure no one is ever enslaved again." The freed aliens looked at each other in wonder. The humans were not conquering. They were not replacing one empire with another. They were offering partnership. "Why?" one alien asked. "Why help us? You could take the territories for yourselves." Min smiled. "Because we remember what it's like to be threatened. We remember the fear when those ships appeared over Earth, and we decided that no one should have to feel that fear ever again." Over the following months, human ships spread across former space. They freed slaves by the thousands. They taught other species how to fight, how to resist, how to be free. The empire crumbled completely, its remaining colonies declaring independence. and humanity became something new to the galaxy, not conquerors, not an empire, but protectors, warriors who fought for freedom instead of domination. 1 year after the first arrived at Earth, Min stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, looking out at the stars. Beside him was Ah, her hand in his. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. Maybe, Min said, "but if they do, we'll be ready, and we won't be alone anymore." Across the galaxy, dozens of species were building their own fleets, training their own warriors, learning to defend themselves. They had wanted slaves. They had attacked Earth thinking it would be easy. Instead, they had awakened something they could never understand. They had shown humanity that they were not alone in the universe, and in trying to enslave humans, they had created their own worst enemy. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of easy conquest was over, because now everyone knew about Earth, everyone knew about humans, and everyone knew what happened to those who tried to take their freedom. Far away, on a damaged ship fleeing through hyperspace, the survivors told stories. Stories of a small blue planet. Stories of a species that refused to surrender. Stories of predators who looked like prey. They told these stories as warnings. Stay away from Earth. Stay away from humans. They don't fight like other species. They don't quit. They don't forgive. They had come to Earth for slaves. They left in shreds, broken and defeated, carrying a message that would echo across the stars for generations. Humanity is not prey. Humanity is the predator. And now humanity has reached the stars.